Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for today's call with L&I Secretary Oleksiak and UC Benefits Policy Director Susan Dickinson. I'm Teresa Elliott, Deputy Communications Director for L&I. Please submit your questions by clicking the chat icon located in the lower right-hand side of your screen. Please include your name and media outlet, followed by your question. In the interest of time, you'll be limited to one question, but time permitting, we'll open up the call for a second round. You may submit any follow-up questions to us at dlipress@pa.gov, and we'll address them after the call. For your awareness, this call is being recorded. If you do not consent to being recorded, please hang up now. Following the call, a link to the recording will be provided to the media outlets that participated this afternoon. We'll get started with comments from Secretary Jerry Oleksiak. Secretary?
Thank you, Teresa, and thank you to all of you who have joined us this afternoon. Let me begin with the numbers. We have crossed the $30 billion mark, billion with a B, in benefits that we have paid out since the beginning of the pandemic. That's about $5.7 billion from our regular unemployment compensation program, and the remainder, over $24 billion, has close to $25 billion as a result of the Federal CARES Act, the extended benefits program in Pennsylvania, and the Lost Wages Assistance Program that we have also run. Since the pandemic began, we've increased our staff by 172%. We've gone from 775 employees working in unemployment to the current total of 2,110 people involved. And those folks have worked about 385,000 total hours of overtime since March 15th. 97% of eligible claimants who filed for regular unemployment between March 15th and September 26th were either paid or have been determined to not be eligible for benefits. The remaining 3% are pending resolution for various reasons, but that number is dropping. The percentage has stayed the same, but the actual number in that 3% has declined over the past several weeks, so we're happy to see that. Since March 15th, we have helped over 3 million of our claimants with communications, more than 1.4 million in email, 690,000 approximately over the phone, 172,000 by live chat, and over 1 million by virtual assistant. And as we've said all along, we won't be satisfied until everyone who is eligible for benefits gets them. Our staff is doing a great job to stay on top of this, to get ahead of this, and we will continue that until we are done. I mentioned the Lost Wages Assistance Program. There's still an opportunity for folks to apply for that. That's the extra $300 per week. It's good for the weeks of August 1st through September 5th, August 1st through September 5th. There won't be any additional funds that we know of allocated to that program, so when the money is completed, that'll be that. Thus far, I think we've paid out, I'm not sure how much we've paid out, but we can get that number for you, or Susan, maybe it'll provide that at some point. Please go to uc.pa.gov/cert if someone thinks they are eligible for that benefit. The Unemployment Compensation Trust Fund, as of October 30th, the balance was very close to $45 million, $44,743,925, and that's the official number given to us by the U.S. Treasury. So far, we've borrowed about $566 million in zero interest loans. We've requested 3 additional months of loan availability from the federal government. So we're now up to, we've borrowed up to $300 million in November, and we've requested to borrow $300 million in November and up to $700 million in December and January. And again, this is like a line of credit. We will use it as we need it. We're continuing to hold our virtual town halls. We've held 23 thus far, and we'll do another one this Thursday. And then we ask anyone from the public who would like to join that, please go to access.live/PA-labor. The big issue, of course, that we are continuing to battle is fraud, PUA fraud. We're continuing to make progress at confirming the identities of legitimate claimants for PUA, the PUA program, which, as you know, assists folks who are not traditionally eligible for unemployment. Many states, as we've said all along, including Pennsylvania, have experienced issues with scammers who have filed fraudulent claims for these PUA benefits. They've stolen identities and gathered information from prior data breaches. None of this has occurred inside state government. A few weeks ago, we saw a sudden surge in these suspicious claims, and we contracted with a federally certified identity verification provider, ID.me. Many of our PUA claimants have already received directions on their dashboards about how to file for that identity verification. We're working with ID.me to steadily increase the number of verifications that we make daily so we can quickly get through every claimant who is waiting through this for this process. We've already heard positive feedback from claimants that the ID.me process is fairly simple and straightforward and is working well for them. We encourage anyone who sees the message from ID.me on their dashboard to follow it as soon as possible. Obviously, the more quickly an eligible claimant completes the identity verification, the faster we can get them their payments. While the PUA program was initially the focus of most of the fraud schemes, we've been seeing more fraudsters target other unemployment compensation programs. Our staff continues to flag potential fraud cases and look for the patterns in these cases so we can halt new fraud schemes and hold scammers accountable for their actions. We're not alone in attacking these fraudsters or attracting these fraudsters who are looking to subvert the system and make a buck off the backs of hardworking families who are entitled to these benefits. This issue is ongoing. We've been coordinating with other states to share information. We've heard from other states that fraudsters are accessing user accounts and then changing bank account information to divert benefit payments. We immediately began monitoring for this issue in Pennsylvania, and we've been doing everything we can to remind claimants to protect their personal and confidential information. It's important for claimants to remember that you should never give your username or password to anyone. We've heard about fraudsters posing as L&I employees on calls they make to Pennsylvanians. They'll say they need your username or your password or your social security number or other information so they can fix an issue. They are coming on as the savior when they are actually scammers. It's important for Pennsylvanians to know that L&I will not call you or ask for your information, username, password, or full social security number, and you should not provide it to anyone over the phone or through social media. These fraudsters, and we've all gotten the calls for various things, can be very deceptive in their communication. They'll appear sympathetic, caring. They'll offer to help people sign up for a fake program that will solve all their problems. They'll offer to unfix accounts, and they can't do any of that. So again, we will not ask you for your username or password, and we encourage you not to share that with anyone. Please go to uc.pa.gov/fraud to see signs of the scam, what you can do if you believe you're a victim of a scam, and if you receive benefits you're not entitled to, what you can do to repay those dollars. On a final note, we know that many of you in the media have had claimants reach out to you regarding issues that they are having with claims. And throughout this process, you've been very helpful at helping us through what has, without a doubt, been one of the most difficult eras in our agency's history. The information that you have published or broadcast has been invaluable at helping claimants, especially during our peak call volume days when we were unable to personally assist every claimant with questions. We have reached a point where we have put programs into place to resolve many of the widespread issues that we face, particularly the identity verification process. We do still obviously have a number of claimants experiencing holds or delays, but most of these issues are complex, as the system often is, and they require individual review by L&I staff. We ask that if you are contacted by a claimant to please have them reach out to us directly. And there are a few important reasons for this. We want to discourage claimants, obviously, from sharing personal confidential information with anyone to cut down on the likelihood of them falling prey to a scammer. Because unemployment compensation information is confidential by law, our press team, or Susan and I on these calls, are unable to provide any specific information about a claimant's case. And we have seen circumstances where a claimant is confused or frustrated and has reached out to local news outlets. And again, under law, we are responsible for making sure that these stories we look into them, and we have to be very careful that we don't create more problems when these examples occur. For example, one example, we had a story recently of a claimant who insisted they had not been paid, and we did the research and saw that their payments were being made on their a U.S. Bank Relia debit card, and they just hadn't checked. So it was a simple fix. It's much better for everyone if these claimants reach out to us directly so that we can assist them. Our goal is to make sure that they get the benefits to which they are entitled. So we're asking those of you in media, if you hear from a claimant who is having an issue, ask them to call us, email us, go to the live chat so that we can help them figure out what is going on with their individual case. So again, thank you for your help. Thank you for sharing the information that we do provide, and we'd be happy now to take any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that information, Secretary Oleksiak. I encourage any of our reporters on the call now to submit questions via the chat icon in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. We encourage you, as you submit your questions, to please include your name as well as your media outlet, and we will address them in the order in which they were received. So we're going to pause for a moment now as we wait for questions to come in. And our first question of the day is from Lauren Rosenblatt from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Lauren asks, what advice do you have for claimants who say they still can't get through to any UC staff, whether by phone or email?
I'll begin then, Susan, you can jump in there. And again, we understand this is very frustrating. Unfortunately, the people who are doing the fraudulent claims are also calling and trying to get their claims fixed, if that's the word you want to use that way. So while our numbers in our call centers the number of employees are increasing, the number of calls are decreasing, the wait time is decreasing. We have helped, as I said, over 3 million claimants with their communications. It is still very frustrating for us that people are not able to get through. And we are doing all we can as quickly as we can, and we would encourage them to continue to reach out. Susan, anything you want to add to that?
Yes, of course, the three main ways to get a hold of us are through telephone, through online chat, and through email. And the telephone is still very busy. We still have, plenty of new claimants coming in to serve, as well as claimants who already have claims that we're trying to answer questions for. But we have made great strides with chat and email. Those are actually very good ways to try to get a hold of us now. Of course, both require an internet access. So for individuals who don't have internet access, they would still try to call us. And calling us toward the end of the week is always better than calling us toward the beginning of the week. When it comes to chat, ever since we added our chat bot up front, Paula is what we call her, she does take care of a lot of general type of questions so that those individuals who are then able to have her answer a general question for them don't have to tie up the lines getting into our regular staff to answer the general question. So then the regular staff are able to spend more time with individuals who need specific claim information because again, our chatbot does not answer claim information. It is just general information at this time. And we have seen a lot of decreased volume in our chat because she's able to take care of the answers and the individuals don't have to then talk to one of our staff. So that has been a tremendous help in having Paula answer these questions. And on the email front, we're always adding more staff and chipping away at it more. Right now, our oldest email is from late August. So we're every day catching up more and more, and we're able to get through faster now that we have better software to get through our emails. So those are actually two very good ways to get a hold of us these days. It's not quite so impossible as it was, several months ago, where it was very frustrating for individuals to get a hold of us anyway, that they tried. So I would highly recommend chat and email. And of course, for those who don't have those capabilities, the phone is the way to go, and they can try later in the week and have better success that way.
Thank you, Susan. Altoona Mirror's Bill Kibler asks, what other programs are being targeted by scammers?
We do have some fraud happening in our other programs, regular UC and the programs attached to that. Of course, that's not necessarily specific to the pandemic. We had fraud in those programs, even prior to the pandemic. It's just part of the modern world to have identity theft and people trying to file claims and gain benefits on behalf of other people in any program, not just unemployment. So it was just on a much smaller scale prior to the pandemic. Nothing that was, a large percentage of claims or anything like that. PUA, of course, made that come to the forefront, where a lot of claims across the nation seem to be fraudulent. So, our other programs, as we have individuals, turn in payments or turn in forms that they received and they say that they've never filed for unemployment, that helps us with that. And we're digging in more with our internal investigators. And of course, we always get law enforcement's help when we can. To try to see if we can, find the individuals and make sure that they don't get benefits that they shouldn't be getting.
Next, we have Nicole Brambila from Public Source. What are we using the federal loan funds to pay for?
When you say the federal loan funds, if that's the money we're borrowing for the trust fund, that will be to pay benefits. A lot of the programs, obviously, that have been set up that are supporting UC through the pandemic are through the CARES Act, and they are federal dollars. But the trust fund loans will be used to pay benefits. Susan, can you expand on that?
Yeah, the only program, most of the CARES Act programs are all federally funded. So really the trust fund just pays regular unemployment for the most part. We have to pay administrative costs, we have other grants that the federal government gives. We have our annual grant just for general UI administration, but then they also offer grants for other, the individual CARES Act programs that have come around. So that's how those are paid for. So really when we talk about the trust fund loan, or as the secretary mentioned, it is more like a line of credit. That is mostly for the regular unemployment claims, which encompasses some smaller programs like shared work and trade readjustment assistance. But you can think of it as just the regular unemployment claims benefits, which get paid out of the trust fund.
The Pittsburgh Tribune Review's Joe Napsha asks, do you have an estimate on the amount of money paid through the Lost Wages Assistance Program?
Yes, we have paid $1.73 billion so far.
This next question will move us into our second round of questions. I encourage any of our reporters that have follow-ups to please submit them at this time. Michaela Drapak from ABC 27 asked, you said that there are more fraud issues with other programs other than PUA. Anything you're doing specifically to cut down on that, like ID Me for PUA?
So far, we haven't done anything specific for the regular unemployment fraud ID Me, simply because we're still finding out more about what goes on. Plus, we have an added layer of security when it comes to regular unemployment, and that is the fact that people need PINs to file, and you can only get your PIN through the mail. A lot of the PUA fraud happens because everything's electronic. You don't wait for anything in the mail. So since we have this extra security in regular unemployment, where they have to physically receive something in the mail, that has really helped, with the other programs, because if you don't have your PIN number, you can't file for benefits, you can't get payments. So that is probably why, for regular unemployment, we haven't seen nearly as much fraud as, across the nation as being reported for PUA, especially because the PUA was a newer program for all states. So generally, it's in a modernized type system, and in the modern world, we all expect everything to be electronic and not mailed. So that's how a lot of the PUA systems were set up. So for now, we do, we're thankful that we have that PIN that gets mailed to individuals. If we see any type of suspicious PIN requests to change a PIN or to get a new PIN mailed, and they're asking it to be sent, somewhere than where the other one, when the original one was sent, we're looking into those more and not just verifying the PIN and resetting the PIN. What we're doing is we're trying to get a hold of the individuals and just make sure that they are who they say they are. And if we can't get a hold of them, then we wouldn't reset the PIN. So that has been very helpful. So far we haven't needed to go to an outside source, but we're monitoring it all the time to see what the trend is like. We talk with other states and with our national association and hear what's going on with them, and we help each other find patterns and understand what might be coming, so that we can help fight the fraud together, and it's been very effective.
Well, that looks like that's our final question for today. Susan or Secretary Oleksiak, do you have any additional comments to add at this time?
Not right now. Thank you for your participation, and thank you for helping get the word out, and we'll talk to you again. And vote. Don't forget to vote.
Yes.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. So please email our communications office at dlipress@pa.gov with any additional questions. Thank you so much for joining us, and stay well.
Thank you.
Thank you.